What's up? I'm Big Bob.
What's up, Big Bob?
That's me. What's up, Big Bob? So today we have a special guest, Angie Easley. But before we start our normal podcast, we have to give a special shout out to Brenda Ringwood, who's my executive director and the founder of Becoming the Better You Foundation. Thank you, Brenda. Angie, where are you from? Where am I contacting?
I'm in Northern Virginia, just right outside of DC.
Okay, we won't talk politics.
Yeah, no, let's not.
I've been told, and I've done a little bit of research, that you have a very compelling story.
Yes, I do.
And I'm hoping that even though the story might not start out with a lot of smiles and happy stuff, it ends with, how do you make chicken salad out of chicken shit?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. By the way, that's the closest I'll come to profanity. This is supposed to be a PGG type of podcast.
Gotcha.
That means, okay. Your story. I'll ask questions when you slow down.
Okay.
What is your story, ma'am?
Okay. So growing up, I had pretty much just the best life that any young girl could want. I had a great family, great parents. And when I was 15, I met this guy. His name was Kyle Harmon, and we actually met on a youth conference in Colorado. And we kind of dated on and off for those high school years, I guess. And then he went to Virginia Tech. And then I went to Radford University. And so we dated from our senior year in high school on all the way through high school. And then we got married in June of 2001. And we moved to Richmond, Virginia. We really, truly had a great marriage, a great life. And then in 2004, December of 2004, he came home and was so super excited to tell me that he got a promotion within the company he worked for, which was Circuit City, and that he was going to be flying on the corporate jet to the Sony plant in Tijuana. And I immediately said to him, "You can't go." And he just looked at me like I was crazy. And I said,
Would too.
Yeah, I said, you cannot fly on that jet. I said, if you go on a commercial airline, you can go, but there's something that's telling me that you just should not get on that jet. And he kind of dismissed me, and I kind of let it go for a while. And then in late January, I brought it up again. And when we were just talking about the trip was planned for February 16th to 2005. And I begged him again in our conversation not to go.
Angie.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah.
This is something that I haven't heard you talk about before. The premonition.
Yeah.
Tell me about the premonition, how you were overcome, or how you were enlightened, or how you were touched. Mm-hmm. What made you think that he shouldn't be on this plane?
I don't even know. I just had this overwhelming feeling that something awful was going to happen, that my life was going to be changed the minute that he told me that.
Have you ever had the feeling before?
No, I had not. At the time, I was only 25.
Have you had the feeling since?
Yes.
Look, it's very tragic what happened to your husband, right? It really is. And it's a wonderful story about how you connected and how this premonition separates you from everybody else. The death on and the fact that, and I don't mean to jump into the story, but the fact
No, it's
that the
okay.
plane crashed and everybody died is tragic. But your premonition that you had once, that you've had again, is story worthy. That might be what people want to hear about. That you were overwhelmed by a premonition once, twice, three times, and how you have to take. Have any of the premonitions been good?
From that moment on, when I kind of, learned about what was happening, because I was very into my faith, and I didn't know that I really actually believed in premonitions, to be honest with you. And that's why I said that he looked at me like I was crazy, because it just wasn't part of our vocabulary, right? We hadn't experienced anything like that before. So in my most adult life now, they're just small things. Like I think something, and then it does come true, whether it's bad or it's good, or it's just the fact that, I know that something's going to happen right around the corner. They're not huge things like this was.
Look, I was at a dinner party not that long ago, and there's 15 people there. And part of the dinner party was after we eat, we sit around and everybody tells a story. And one person started telling a story about a supernatural experience. And everybody gasped and said, yes, me too. And I took a survey. I said, 15 people, raise your hand if you've had a supernatural experience. Everybody raised their hand. I said, okay, how many people have had a supernatural experience that was good? 6 people raised their hand. How many people that was evil or bad? 14 people raised their hand, meaning 5 had both good and bad. I've only had a good supernatural experience 2 or 3 times. And one of them was, or the one that most recently, it's happened probably 10 or 15 times. I'm all by myself in the house, and the mattress starts shaking.
Oh.
The mattress starts shaking. I say, thank you. It's my guardian angel letting me know that they're there looking out for me.
Oh, wow.
Other people might freak out and say, there's a ghost in the house.
Right.
I'm looking at it as a positive that my guardian angel is there looking out for me and just wants to let me know that their presence is there. And by the way, as soon as I say thank you, it stops.
Oh, wow.
So I believe in premonitions. I believe that there's things that we can't touch, smell, or feel that exist. So when you say you've had premonitions, I smile and say, are they good premonitions? Are they bad premonitions? So I like to do that a little bit more, go down that road a little bit.
Yeah. That is the only bad premonition that I've had, I would say. And it just came to me over and over again. And even up into the day that the crash actually happened, the night before, I went and I cut off his alarm so he wouldn't wake up. And I went back downstairs and I just sat there alone, and I thought, if this man does not wake up for that flight, I really truly believed that he would hate me forever, or I don't want to say he would divorce me, because I don't know that he was like that, but I knew that it would not be a good outcome if that happened. So I actually went back and I cut his alarm back on. And so, but I knew even on Valentine's Day that this was a huge moment as well. He cooked this really fabulous Valentine's dinner for me on Valentine's evening. And I just cried with him because I knew it would be the last time that I would be with him.
I'm sad for you right now, right? For knowing, but not knowing,
Yeah.
fear without a tangible reason to be fearful, intuition, premonition, these are words that, how do we relate to? Because it's so different for each one of us. Okay. Terrible thing your husband died. Really is. It rocked you to the core, not only the death, but how did you have to deal with that premonition, the guilt of you could have stopped it. You could have made something different happen. Oh my gosh, you were a mess.
Yes.
You were totally distraught. Not only your husband, not only your future, your whole life, but your inner soul was crushed. What did you do?
I became angry. I became very, very angry. I was so
at who?
At God.
Okay.
At God, at Kyle. Actually, I was so angry with him for a very, very long time. Because he did not listen to me. He dismissed me. He pushed my thoughts aside.
I never listened to my wife. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I just was, I just wish that he could have tried to understand my point and my feelings a little bit more. He was working up that corporate ladder, and I know that was the only thing that was on his mind. I know now, almost 20 years later, that it had nothing to do with me. But at the time, I thought he did this. He made this happen because he didn't listen to me. I thought.
Wait a second. The male ego, the male persona. I have to provide. I have to excel. I have to be successful so I can bring more mashed potatoes home. I mean, it is a masculine drive that maybe not a lot of women recognize, that men feel they have to make sacrifices every single day to provide better and more. So unless he was overwhelmed with this premonition, he thought he was doing what he had to do.
100%. And I know that just from who he was and in his character.
It was not disrespectful. It was not disrespectful or dismissive that he's saying, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Of course I got to go on this trip.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He wasn't putting you down.
No. And I know that all these years later that, I've grown as an adult and through my healing journey. But God was the other person that I was just very, very angry with for many, many years. I just couldn't understand why someone so amazing could be taken so soon, and not even that I would want to replace him, but we oftentimes feel that when someone else, is taken away, that we wish that we could replace them. And I did think that for a long time, but those are all just things that come with grief, I think. So eventually I started to understand, and I became less and less angry. But I pretty much stayed in that phase for quite a while.
All right. I can't relate. I cannot relate. Nobody I've ever loved or held dear was ever taken so prematurely,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I'm the oldest of seven. All my siblings, their spouses, their children, nobody. My parents and grandparents all died at the appropriate old
Right.
age. I have never experienced. I've had friends, but I've never had this heartthrob that you've had.
Yeah.
The desperate, right? I have one question though. I'm gonna have thousands of questions. You have forgiven God.
Yes.
Has God forgiven you for not forgiving Him? So, look, I'm not a scholar,
Hmm.
but Moses was denied the promised land because he doubted God
Hmm.
and hit the stone twice and said, yeah, they asked for water and he hits the stone, nothing happens. He hit the stone twice, and God said, "You challenge me, you doubt me, you don't get to see the promised land."
Hmm.
Has God forgiven you for you not for you being angry with Him? You
Yes.
don't know. We okay. Faith is important.
Yes.
Hey, Angie, faith is what moves the mountain. It
Yeah.
is the faith. So you have the faith that you're now on good terms with God.
Yes. 100%.
All right, good.
Yes.
That's a good turn. That's a good
Yes.
page turner there. Okay,
Yes.
let's go back to the story. So, how did you heal?
Oh, um, I think a lot of my healing happened after I moved forward. I don't want to say that that a lot of it happened, right after, or even probably before, maybe 10 years since it had passed. Right? I did remarry and I had children, and I think it took a lot of those life experiences, and me constantly, you know, going to therapy and trying different avenues to deal with the grief, that it finally started to show up in my life. Um, and then I think in the past couple years, I've healed more just by helping other people to get through their loss and their trauma. That I think that has been the biggest way that I've healed, actually,
All
is to
right.
be able to help others.
So somebody has tragic in their life. You're lucky enough to be in their sphere of influence. You're lucky enough to be able to reach out and touch them. What are you going to say? Time heals all wounds. I mean, what do you say to them?
Um, it's just a combination of so many things for me, and I know that everybody walks their healing journey and their grief journey differently. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, and there's
Absolutely.
no time frame. I sit in on my podcast, and I've interviewed a lot of other widows, and I just am in awe sometimes of their perspective and the way that they are dealing with it. Um, my I think my biggest takeaway is that as long as you put forth the work and the effort to try and move your life forward in some way or some step every single day, that's healing you. Um,
Do you think the new love of your life, the husband, the children, gave you a new focal point on moving forward, or did the healing process complete itself before you found them, or were they part of the healing process?
I think they were part of it. I definitely was not healed before.
Well, that's a dangerous thing to get married again
Yeah.
when you're damaged. Now, I believe, by the way, everybody is damaged.
Hmm.
Everybody is broken.
Hmm.
None of us are really that healthy. We've all been tripped, slowed down, beaten up, thrown to the
Right.
ground, something in our childhood, something in our teenage years, and something as tragic as what happened to you, we're all broken. It is, how do you recover from being broken, from being trampled on? How do you emotionally, intellectually move on to find the best version of yourself? This is why I got involved with BTBY, Becoming the Better You, is because I believe that everybody has been broken somehow, has
Yes.
been damaged good somehow, and they have to find the path to become the best version of themselves. And some of that might be forgiveness, some of this might be God, some of it might be, we can't, I mean, the serenity prayer, where you can't control what you can't control,
Yes.
don't put any energy into it. But you have dedicated this portion of your life to help other people come to terms with this. Right? You're not a psychiatrist. You're
Nope.
not a psychologist. You're a victim that has found the path to peace,
Yes.
and you're willing to share it.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a wonderful, wonderful cause to pick up, because you're giving, you're not taking.
Yes.
I mean, are you charging people to heal them?
No.
No. So all you're doing is giving of your pain, your heal, your path. You're lowering the rope up the mountain of pain to how to overcome it, and
Right.
helping people overcome it at all the different stages. The day after the tragedy, 10 years after this tragedy, you're reliving your pain every
Yeah.
day,
Yes.
or almost every day, to help other people recognize that your pain was real and that you can relate.
Right.
Wow. And hopefully you're healthy for it. You're absorbing that pain, and it doesn't manifest itself with your children, your friends, your neighbors, and the rest of your family, and especially your husband, who must be partly saint to put up with all this
Yes.
crap. He's got to
Yes.
be saintly to listen to this over and over and over again. Why does she keep talking about this guy that died 20 years ago? Come on, give me a break, right?
Yes.
So he's saintly. He really
Yes.
is.
He's wonderful. He's so
Right.
wonderful.
He's a
Has
keeper.
been from day one.
He's a keeper.
Yeah.
So, was he the guy who's setting up the?
Yes.
But let's get him in front of the screen for a second.
Oh gosh, he went upstairs.
Well, when he comes downstairs,
Okay.
right? I want to meet him.
Okay.
But
Okay.
by the way, Angie, I don't mean to put you down at all. He's the superstar of this story.
Oh,
You're not. He is.
I don't know about that.
He's a superstar. He's living your pain for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He didn't say, "I'm not going to deal with this woman. She's got too many issues. She's got too much baggage going forward. I'll move on to somebody else." He stuck with you. He's a superstar. He really is. He's a stud.
Well,
So
thank you.
I want to meet him. So, anyways, how old are your kids?
My kids are, hold on. I'm really sorry, but my screen went away.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Just talk to me. I'm waving.
Okay. I don't know where you went. Oh my gosh.
You don't need the visual. You can hear my voice. Follow
Okay.
the voice.
Okay.
Angie, just follow my voice.
Okay. My kids are 11 and 14. I have two girls.
Oh, you have a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist. I haven't taken one course in psychology. I'm just old and have lived through a bunch of stuff. How are they infected with the story?
They are actually, I didn't tell, it's funny. My oldest actually found out about my life, before actually them just, we were at my parents' house and she was in one of my mom's closets and she found wedding shoes and she came out and wearing my wedding shoes and she goes, "Mommy, look at these shoes. Were these yours?" And I looked over at my mom and I said, "Are those from my first wedding or my second wedding?" And she looked at me and she's
First
like,
wedding.
"What do you mean?" And we were like actually at a birthday party for her. We were just down at my parents' house and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I said, "I'll explain this to you later, but yes, Mommy was married once before." And so then after, everyone had left, I sat her down and I just told her about it. And she's my more, how do I describe her? She's not very emotional a lot of the times and she doesn't show a lot of emotion. So she just was kind of like, "Oh, okay, cool." Basically, there wasn't much said about it. And then my youngest, she was just at the time still too small. I want to say that it was 9 years old is when my oldest found out. And then I think a couple of years ago, so maybe when my youngest was 9, I decided to tell her. That's when a lot of I had started doing a lot of this work and more self-reflection and along this journey of mine. And I felt like I was having to be two different people around her.
Right.
So I said, I looked at my husband and I said, I got to tell her. I said, I can't hide it anymore. And so I sat her down and I told her, and she was so funny. She said, "Oh my gosh, Mommy, does Daddy know about this?" And I was like, "Oh, yes. I just loved her reaction and the way, she was like, because she felt like if I kept it from her, that it was, being kept from everyone
Secret,
else.
right.
So I was like, "Oh yeah, he knows." And that was a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders because, I felt that I could cry or I could have emotions about my past, but I had to keep them to a minimum just because she didn't know yet. And so after, both of them knew, I had the ability to actually, if I was upset or I was crying and it was because I just, something triggered a memory or something like that, I was able to talk openly with them about them and just show them the resilience, just from that.
Angie, I'm hoping that your girls don't have to wear your scars.
No.
That they can learn from your bounce back and not have to deal with your pain. They can take only the good part of this story away and not the tragedy that affected your life. Because if they have to deal with the tragedy that affected your life and not the bounce back, they might be scared to enter into a relationship where they can be emotionally exposed because it can be taken away from them.
Right.
And they might, because they're young and impressionable, might be manufacturing premonitions to manipulate people around them. Because Mommy had premonitions, I got premonitions, you can't do this. Right? So you got a lot of challenges there, babe. but it's not like this is new to you. This is something that you've been doing full throttle. How do you reach out to victims, people who've had tragedies?
I have been sharing my story, just writing or making videos for quite a while now, just through Instagram, Facebook. And so a lot of other people that come to know me, they know me through those platforms, or they're actually friends of mine or friends of my friends, and they refer them to me. And most recently, my husband and I, we started our podcast called Resilience Reborn, and that's a platform where we bring guests on that have had, traumatic loss or widows or anything dealing with life adversity, and they can share their story on that platform. So it's really just word of mouth and just being in connection with people to try and find those ones that need the help.
What are you saying to them?
Um,
I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to guess you relate much more with women than you do men, and you relate much more with women who are under 50 than you do women over 50. For whatever reason, that's my guess. What do you say to them?
I try and help them to know that everything they feel is valid, that no matter where they're at along their journey, whether it is just happened or it's 20 years later, that everything that they feel is okay. It's valid, and it's just a daily work in progress. Every single day that you are living your life, you're moving forward, and you have to allow that space in order to actually heal.
So when I was 21, 22 years old, I did a deep dive into who I was by myself. And I did not like the path I was on. And I was using my history as a crutch as to why I could not be the man I wanted to be. I made finite decisions of just because this is who I was and this is on the path that I'm going to, that's not where I want to end up. I want to become this person. And so as I relate to what you're saying, you have to sit down and say, if I do nothing different, I'm going to end up in this spot.
Yes.
And that's not the person I want to be. I have to make a conscious decision. I'm not talking about a timeline, but a new direction. The time will come when the time will come if I keep walking towards the direction I want to walk towards. But I cannot be a victim. I have to make a new direction and decide, who am I going to be? And
Yes.
this victim says, yes, tragedy happened. And if I don't do anything, I'm going to end up being a victim the rest of my life because I haven't overcome it somehow. And that's not who I want to be. I want to be a person who lives without the guilt. I want to be the person who lives without the pain. I want to be the person who lives without the limits. And I have to change who I am slightly and my values slightly to become the person I want to become.
Yes.
And I think that's the message that you're sharing and giving people hope for, that they can, if they work at it honestly, they can become healthy again. And they can overcome the tragedy that has tripped up their life, the serenity prayer. They had no fault in it. They had no control over it. Shit happens, and it happened to you.
Yeah.
How do I turn this around and make my life worthwhile again?
Yeah.
And I applaud you for giving this to our society, in our community, in our village.
Thank you.
Right? You don't have to. You could have gone out and been a school teacher and lived a normal life once you discovered the secret to getting rid of the pain. But you relive that pain every day to share how somebody else can have hope.
Yes.
You're doing a great job, babe.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Right. This is probably a different conversation than you've normally had when you tell your story,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I listened to a little bit of your story. This is a lot more impactful than your story. Hopefully, you'll go back, you'll look at some of this stuff and say, you know, I want to take this little piece, that little piece,
Yeah.
and add it in and get rid of this nonsense that really doesn't matter so much anymore because the pain is not the important part of the story. The overcoming the pain and the growth and the commitment is the story.
Yeah, I think once I found purpose in my pain is when it all became very clear to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, that enabled you to have a healthy relationship with what's the husband's name?
Trey.
That opened the door to a relationship with Trey, and once that started working, you became an angelic mother who just worships her children and only wants the best thing for them.
Yeah.
So your life turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I really truly have an amazing life.
Angie, that is the message. Please understand. The message isn't the tragedy. The
Yeah.
message is I have a fantastic life again.
Yes. Yeah. I do. I'm very grateful every day.
Right. And don't forget your premonitions because they are a gift. Not everybody has them.
Yeah.
Right. That's a
Yep.
gift. Is there anything that you would like to tell all 17 listeners of the What's Up Big Bob podcast with?
You know, I think, I mean, really what I just said is that I'm grateful that I have walked this path to find purpose in my pain and in the tragedy. And I know 100% that it was just the self-work that I did and the continuing to move forward because I knew that wasn't supposed to be my final chapter. And
Did you have people who helped you? Was it self-help? Was it self-help, or did you go and the psychiatrist opened up your eyes and your friends and family were patient enough until you found the new light? I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, my family was absolutely amazing. I couldn't have ventured really honestly the first 3 years after the plane crash without my family. My friends were right by my side, but of course along this journey you lose many people and you gain many people. I did throughout these past almost 20 years, I have seen many therapists. So I do believe in that. I've tried lots of things. I've tried EMDR. I've been through hypnotherapy.
How about marijuana?
No, didn't do that.
LSD.
No, I did not ever do anything like that. And you know, I think that all things that you can try are helpful. You know, I think most recently it was just me, you know, finding my faith again and knowing that there is a greater plan for me.
Good.
And so I think all of those things combined are what pushed me to move forward.
More question. Obviously, somebody has died in your life since then.
Yes.
You have gone to funerals.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with that? Is it just, it's natural? Sometimes it happens outside of my control. Mm-hmm. It's not devastating.
No, it's not devastating. And now I will say the majority of the people that that have died since, it's been appropriate. Like, it's been my grandparents.
Right.
It hasn't been, you know, a 25-year-old man
Right.
that was my
Absolutely.
husband. So I think that has helped me a little bit to be able to kind of get through those types of things, just because it is the natural progression of life. And actually, at, you know, my close family members, like my grandparents, I actually sang at their funeral. I'm a choir teacher too. So
I have a saying when I go to a grandparent funeral: sad, not tragic.
yes, yes, it is.
Sad.
They are sad,
No
but
matter
they,
what age they are, no matter how they died, doesn't it's sad.
yeah,
But if they're a lot older than me, it's not tragic.
right, right,
Or
right,
if they've
right.
been sick for 10 years, it's not tragic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I will say that sometimes it triggers things for me, but that's, you know, it will send me back to the moment, you know, when I was at, you know, Kyle's service or something like that. It brings up stuff, but it does not keep me in a place that,
Angie, you're never going to forget,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But you've taken this dagger and moved on. You didn't throw yourself on the funeral fire and end your life. Also,
right,
you've grown. You've gone on.
yeah.
I have a feeling that our paths are going to cross at some time in the future because we have a common friend. I'm going to really look forward to meeting your husband.
Oh, yes. Yes.
All right. Thank you very, very much for being on my podcast. You have been a absolute delight. I greatly applaud you for helping our village, and the girls are very lucky to have you for a mom.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Angie, loves and hugs. Be well.